Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and the week 5 of my Letterboxd diary. This week we have a team again and the team is Mia Goth. But don't get me wrong, this team isn't about all of her cinematography or the movies that she was the main character. This is simply some movies that she was in that I didn't watch before. So don't expect Suspiria, X or even Infinity Pool. I've talked about 2 of them in my previous videos, so go check them out if you haven't. So without further ado, let's start with our first movie. After watching X, I had really high hopes for Pearl. I absolutely loved X, it felt like a breath of fresh air in the slasher horror genre, but Pearl? I don't know man, I thought it would hit a bit harder. I mean, I enjoyed most of it for sure. The general cinematography was really cool, they clearly put in the effort to make it feel like a movie from its time period. The acting was great, especially for Mia Goth. In X, she doesn't really shine, but here she gets to show her acting talent for the purist. And that is the true factor that carries this movie. When it comes to intensity, though some things felt a bit predictable, Pearl is clearly deranged and unstable, but her actions were mostly foreseeable. Sure, she does some messed up stuff, but it all felt really ordinary for her character. There weren't many moments that genuinely shocked me. That said, Mia especially shines during the last 30 minutes of the movie. The monologue Pearl gives is both impressive and uncomfortable. The way she starts as a sad person but ends as a troubled and dangerous one was fun to watch. And the last shot was simply fantastic. She literally traps you on the credits scene. Outside of those stand-up moments, though I'm not sure this movie is worth a deeper discussion, the hype around Pearl was massive and a lot of people seem to have loved it when it came out. But me, I don't know, I'm one of those people. I enjoyed it for the most part, but I found myself checking the runtime a lot. Nonetheless, as a prequel to X, it's a cool addition to the story. I'm definitely looking forward to Maxine, but I have a sneaking suspicion that I'll end up liking that one the least. So I take that back, Maxine was dope. I definitely liked it more than Pearl. It is a better period piece for sure, but it feels like they went back to their roots with this one, and I'm talking about its similarities with X. Obviously that is understandable because of the time proximity, but after watching Pearl, this was definitely a breath of fresh air. Right from the get-go, the world building is stronger. Pearl had a much more isolated and linear world, which made sense for the farmer girl cut off from the society aesthetic, but Maxine truly immerses you in its setting. Also, the 80s aesthetic was perfectly given in the movie, both in general and its approach to the 80s slasher horror. The vibes were on point. On the acting part, I wouldn't necessarily say it's better than Pearl. We have a lot more characters here, so it varies. In Pearl, like I said before, Mia Goth had the space to really shine and showcase her acting talent. She plays her role pretty well in Maxine too, but the script doesn't require the same level of intensity from her this time around. To be honest, for the most part, I was really enjoying this movie and debating, is this better than X? Initially, I was going to give it the same record as I gave to X, which was 4 screaming Mayas out of 5, but unfortunately the climax and the ending weren't what I had hoped for. The main twist felt kind of whack in my opinion and it was unnecessary, and the ending had some questionable logical gaps. It felt like Ty West got super excited, went all over the place while writing the ending, but other than that, it was a solid movie and a solid trilogy. If I had to rank them, I will put X on top, Maxine on the 2nd place, and Pearl in the 3rd. I watched High Life without knowing anything about it. I only know it has our team star Mia Goth, the starring actor is Robert Pattinson, and it is a sci-fi flick. The movie uses the space element different from the movies I watched. We all seen a trope where the space crew gets isolated and their resources drain and the whole spaceship feels like a prison, but here the spaceship is actually a prison. I mean, not actually, but sort of at least. The crew is formed with life-sentenced and death row prisoners and sent out there for research purposes. Basically, they have traded captivity with another captivity, but this time it's off-world. It is a very art-house sci-fi movie for sure. I mean, it's an A24 movie after all, this wasn't really out of the blue. But with that, it creates some unusualities, such as the used space wasn't much impressive in the first place, and at first I thought it wasn't space at all. It felt more of a black room with the way gravity was used, and it made me think there might have been a plot twist about that. The acting was okay, there weren't anyone that annoyed me or anything. Mia was decent as well, she just wasn't present as much as I expected. However, she plays a critical part in the movie later on. Andre 3000 was a surprise for me in this movie. He doesn't have much role, but I think he does a good job in his limited screen time. The narrative and concept of time-lapsing was well built in the movie. You see the outcome first and the cause second, so the film makes you pay attention and think through it. The pacing is slow and mundane for the most part, but I wouldn't say it is boring. The movie does a good job on showing people's psychology and how they broke down with time. Everyone has a different breaking point, and sometimes these come out of nowhere when we least expect it. I'm kind of disappointed because even though this film was in my watch list for a long time, I watched it now for this week's team and it didn't have much Mia Goth in it. Still a cool movie. Marrowbone was an underrated horror movie. I don't think I've ever seen it on any recommended horror movies list, but it's definitely worth a watch. It is similar to the other movies I've seen, but if I mention them here, that will spoil this movie. Mia Goth does a good job as a supporting character here. Her dynamic with each character is distinct and she feels like the glue holding their family together. Other actors also does an okay job in their roles. The young talent in this movie is well casted. Anya Taylor-Joy, George McKay and Charlie Heaton perfectly fill their roles as well. The general narrative and pacing were well balanced. The movie creates this hole in the story that to be filled later on, but also it allows you to form your theories and pay attention on what's actually happening. The twist wasn't necessarily shocking or came out of the left field, but it was well executed. The story starts off feeling like a paranormal thriller, but later grounds itself in reality, which sets it apart from the other movies it may have drawn inspiration from. I think it's a solid horror movie and definitely served as a great palate cleanser after High Life. Mia's role here was more substantial, making this feel like more of a Mia Goth movie and suited for our team. Of course, it's not without its flaws, and there were some stupid scenes involving Kyle Solar's character. It felt like to me like the movie hit a roadblock and had to use him as the clearance, but I don't think those parts really lends the execution. Still, despite its imperfections, I think Marrowbone is worth watching and I can see myself revisiting it in the future. Thank you so much everyone for watching this video. We have passed 2/10 of our 100 movies challenge and almost at the quarter of it. I think we are at a good pace. Obviously it could have been better, but still. I believe around April or May this challenge might get accomplished, but it is too early to talk about that right now. I don't know if I would continue with a team for next week, but I might, because there are still a couple of Mia Goth movies that I haven't watched and I might finish the total team next week, but we shall see. I haven't decided yet. Once again, thank you everyone. If you liked the video, please press the like button and subscribing to the channel is always much appreciated. I'll see you next week. Bye.